My father's voice sliced through the room like a blade. We already divided everything. The way they looked at me, like I was some stray who'd wandered in, made my skin prickle. Not a daughter, not family, just an intruder standing in a place where they believed I didn't belong. No empty seat was pulled out for me, no smile, no nod of acknowledgement. People know me as Danielle, and wherever you're watching this from, stay with me. Tell me, have you ever felt erased from your own bloodline? Like your chapter was torn out before anyone could read it? The lawyer cleared his throat, shuffling papers with shaky hands. I'm afraid there's a complication, he murmured. Dad's expression curdled, annoyance tightening his jaw. What complication? He snapped. The lawyer's eyes flicked toward me, fear pinching his features. Her name, he stuttered, gesturing at me with trembling fingers. It's the only name listed in the will. The room detonated. Mom's face blanched, lips snapping shut as if she'd swallow her tongue before letting another sound escape. My brother's fists curled until his knuckles whitened. My sister froze mid-sip, her wine sloshing over the tablecloth. Dad leaned forward, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper. That's impossible. The lawyer adjusted his glasses, voice steadying just enough. It's written plainly, he said. Everything, property, accounts, land, was left to Danielle. The air seemed to thicken, turning sour around me. Relief fluttered briefly in my chest before dying the moment I met Dad's stare, like I had betrayed him simply by breathing. You weren't invited for a reason, he spit out, hate lacing every word. I swallowed hard. Why? My sister slammed her glass so violently that red streaked across the pristine tablecloth. You don't deserve it, she hissed. Grandpa intended it for us. That's not what he wrote, I said, voice shaking but steady enough. It's what he chose. Dad stood up abruptly, hands trembling, rage trembling in his bones. You shouldn't have come, he growled. But I wasn't leaving, not like a scared child running again. I lifted my chin and planted my feet into the floor. If they thought I'd walk out empty-handed, they were mistaken. A chill rolled down my spine as the lawyer nudged the papers toward me, dread pooling in his eyes. Before he could speak, my sister pushed her chair back and surged forward, nearly knocking over the table. You can't just show up after all these years, she shrieked, voice shaking the chandelier overhead. You think you're entitled to this? I stayed calm, letting her tantrum roll off me. It's not about what I think I'm owed. It's about Grandpa's decision. She laughed, a brittle, hateful sound. Grandpa was confused, Danielle. He didn't know what he was signing. The lawyer jolted. Your grandfather was completely aware, he said. I spoke with him personally on multiple occasions. His mind was intact. Mom's voice sliced through the room like ice. You shouldn't even be here, she hissed. We made sure you wouldn't hear about the will reading. The words hit me like cold water. You hid it from me. Dad didn't blink. Of course we did, he said flatly. You're a disappointment. You always have been. Something inside me cracked, then hardened. And stealing my inheritance was supposed to fix that? He slammed his hand onto the table, glasses rattling dangerously. You don't deserve that money. I glanced down at the documents, my name printed clear as day. I do, I answered quietly. Grandpa knew why. Tom finally spoke, his voice dripping disgust. You think you can just walk in and take the house, the land, after we took care of everything while you ran? My jaw clenched. I didn't run. I escaped. His face turned crimson. You'll regret this. I stood, gathering the papers with trembling fingers. No, I said. For once, I won't. My sister's hand came down on the table again, wood cracking. You're tearing this family apart. Something twisted deep in my chest. Regret, maybe. but it dissolved the moment I remembered every night they left me out in the cold, every birthday ignored, every time they reminded me I was never enough. Maybe this family needs to fall apart, I whispered. The lawyer cleared his throat again. Danielle, you need to sign to finalize acceptance. I nodded, lifted the pen, and felt something heavy loosen inside me as I signed my name. But before the ink dried, Dad's voice boomed again. "Put that pen down," he barked like a command he expected me to obey. His jaw twitched, fury tightening every muscle in his face. I set the pen down, slow and deliberate, and met his eyes. "Why?" I asked softly. "So you can take it?" His jaw twitched, fury tightening every muscle in his face. I set the pen down, slow and deliberate, and met his eyes. "Why?" I asked softly. "So you can take it?" His jaw twitched, fury tightening every muscle in his face. "You don't understand what you're doing." My sister shoved her chair back, nearly knocking over the table. "Danielle, think! If you take this money, you ruin everything." I lifted a brow. "Everything built on lies?" Her face twisted. "We deserve it more than you," she choked. "We stayed. We followed the rules. You left." I laughed a cold laugh. "I survived," I said. "There's a difference." Mom threw her napkin down. Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "Don't you dare speak about surviving. You wouldn't have a roof over your head without us." My heartbeat thudded, steady and strong. "That roof leaked for years," I shot back. "Don't rewrite history to make yourselves saints." The lawyer shifted nervously. "Legally, this will must be filed today." Tom growled. "If you file it, you're choosing her." "I'm doing my job," he replied, barely above a whisper. Dad moved, towering over the table. "If you leave with those papers," he said, voice trembling, "you're cut off forever." My chest tightened, the old wound of wanting to belong clawing at me. But then I remembered Grandpa's letter, the one truth I had left. "I lost this family a long time ago," I said, each word sharp, "but I won't lose myself, too." Tom's chair scraped violently as he lunged toward me, eyes burning. The lawyer leapt between us, shaking. "Don't," he warned. "You'll regret what you do next." Tom stopped, chest heaving. I lifted the signed will, folded it carefully. It felt warm, almost alive in my hands. This time, no one would rip it away. As I turned for the door, Mom's voice cracked behind me, raw and splintered. I paused, hand on the doorknob. She stood trembling, mascara streaked, gripping the table like a lifeline. "If you do this, you will break this family." I let her words settle like dust before shaking my head. "No, Mom," I said, steady as stone. "You broke it, the moment you decided I wasn't part of it." Her face collapsed, rage and sorrow fighting for space. "We raised you," she cried. "We fed you, clothed you. How can you turn your back on us?" My throat burned with memories of cold dinners eaten alone, gifts never bought, tears cried behind closed doors. "You raised me to endure you," I said, "and now I'm finally free." Tom stepped forward, sneering. "You're nothing without us. People will see what you really are." I inhaled slowly. "I'd rather stand alone than live as your shadow." The lawyer, voice barely there, whispered, "Danielle, if you want, I'll walk you to the courthouse myself." My sister's voice cracked. "Please," she begged, "don't take everything. We'll have nothing left." My chest tightened, but not with guilt, just truth. I had nothing for years. None of you cared. Mom reached out a trembling hand. "Danielle, sweetheart, please." I stepped back. "No," I said firmly, "you don't understand. You raised me in darkness and called it love. You made me believe I was nothing. I refuse to live that way again." The room fell silent, suffocating. I turned the doorknob, feeling freedom blooming in my chest, when Dad's final roar exploded behind me.
"Walk out that door and you're dead to us." I paused, letting the ache pulse through me, then turned with a calm I never knew I had, ready to step into the life they never let me have. "Then consider me reborn," I said, stepping through the doorway without looking back. As the door clicked shut behind me, I heard a crash inside, like the past finally breaking. The courthouse steps burned beneath my feet, sunlight glaring off the white stone as I gripped the file folder so tight my knuckles ached. Each step felt like shedding 1,000 pounds of shame. The lawyer walked next to me, trying to keep up, breathing hard. "You okay?" he asked, cautious. I nodded, though a tremor ran through me. "I will be," I said, voice steadier than I felt. We stepped inside, the blast of cold air making me shiver. It smelled like stale coffee and paperwork, and a strange kind of hope. As we reached the clerk's window, my phone vibrated again and again in my pocket. I didn't have to look to know it was them. Tom, Mom, Dad. I ignored it. The clerk, a tired woman in thick glasses, glanced up. "What can I help you with?" My throat went dry, but I managed. "I need to file this will." The lawyer gave her the paperwork, hand steady now. "Everything is correct. All signatures are final." The clerk flipped through the pages, scanning, then nodded. "Looks clean," she confirmed. "It will be processed today." A breath whooshed from my lungs, relief, terror, all tangled together. The lawyer turned to me, offering a small, reassuring smile. "You did it," he said. "It's yours." Yours. That word sank into my bones, so unfamiliar it almost hurt. Mine, my future, my freedom. For a second, a wave of sadness crashed through me. I could still hear my mother's voice, that poison sweetness trying to pull me back. I could see my sister's tears. But then I remembered the way they'd left me out, the years of closed doors and cold shoulders, and I knew this was the only path left. The lawyer handed me a receipt, stamped and sealed. "Congratulations, Danielle. Your grandfather would be proud." I smiled, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. Unstoppable. "Thank you," I whispered. Outside, the wind felt cleaner somehow, brushing against my skin like a blessing. As I stepped down those courthouse stairs, a text lit up on my phone from Tom. "You'll regret this." I wiped my face, heart pounding, and typed back only 2 words. "Watch me." And with that, I walked toward a future that was finally mine, leaving their poison behind for good. The ride back to the house felt like a dream I never dared to have. The world outside passing in colors so bright they almost hurt. My hands rested on the folder in my lap, the lawyer's stamped receipt still tucked inside. Every mile away from them felt like peeling off another layer of suffocation. As I pulled into the driveway of my house, the house they had tried to erase me from, I saw the front steps, the same cracked tiles Grandpa used to complain about, and I felt something shift in my chest. Home. I stepped out, keys trembling in my hand, breathing in the quiet. No yelling, no shame, no heavy air, just a silence so wide it felt like forgiveness. I unlocked the door, stepping inside. The place was exactly how I remembered it. The faint smell of old wood, the framed photos on the hall table, and the echo of memories that had never quite been mine to keep until now. I walked through each room slowly, letting the truth sink into my bones. This is yours, Danielle. No one can take it away. My phone buzzed again. I hesitated, then looked. A voicemail from Mom. I pressed play, her voice breaking, almost unrecognizable. "Danielle, please think about what you're doing. You're tearing the family apart. We can still fix this. Call me." I closed my eyes, letting the guilt stab at me one last time, then letting it go. There was no fixing what they'd already broken. I wandered into the kitchen, laying my folder on the counter, fingers brushing the grainy wood of the cabinets. I could still see Grandpa making tea there, humming off-key. For the first time in years, my shoulders relaxed. No one was coming to lock me out. No one was coming to tell me I wasn't welcome. No one was coming to decide my worth. I poured myself a glass of water, and as I stood there, the house seemed to breathe with me, a living, forgiving thing. Maybe this was the first day of my real life. Outside, the sun dipped behind the trees, casting long golden shadows across the porch. And in that silence, I let myself believe I could be happy here. That night, the house felt impossibly quiet, the kind of silence that stings your ears when you've lived with chaos too long. I moved from room to room, checking every corner like a soldier on patrol, as if they might burst through the door to steal it back, but no one came. In Grandpa's old bedroom, I found the small oak box he used to keep on his dresser. My hands trembled as I opened it, half expecting to find it empty. But there it was, a faded family photo. Me, maybe 8 years old, clinging to Grandpa's side with the biggest grin. While the rest of them looked away, I traced my tiny smile with a fingertip, my heart twisting. He'd known, even then, he'd known I was alone in a crowded house. I sank down onto the bed, letting the exhaustion hit me like a wave. The clock ticked on the nightstand, steady and calm, not screaming, not accusing, just letting time pass. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Tom. "Come back. We can make a deal." I laughed, a sound so sharp it surprised me. A deal? After they tried to erase me, after they had left me starving for love for years? I typed back with hands that no longer shook. No deals. No more. And then I turned off the phone completely, letting the silence wrap myself around like a warm blanket. Outside, the wind rattled the old shutters, but the house stood strong, refusing to fall. So would I. I closed my eyes and let myself dream, really dream, for the first time in years, about painting the porch, planting flowers out front, cooking a meal that didn't taste like pity. Tomorrow I would go through the documents again, call the bank, change every lock, make this place safe, truly mine. No one would ever take it away. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't afraid of what came next. I was ready to build a life that no one could rewrite, no matter how many times they tried. Outside, the stars blinked through the night sky, quiet witnesses to my freedom. And in that gentle darkness, I found peace. The next morning felt like a rebirth. I woke up with the sunlight spilling through Grandpa's old curtains, warming my face in a way I'd almost forgotten. There was no shouting, no guilt dripping through the walls, just the soft creak of floorboards beneath my feet. I padded down the hallway, still half in a dream, and stepped onto the porch. The air was sharp and clean, carrying the promise of something better. My phone stayed shut off on the kitchen counter. I refused to let their poison follow me into this new day. Instead, I sat on the porch swing, looking over the yard I'd once believed I'd never see again. For a moment, I let myself remember it all. The cruel words, the cold shoulders, the quiet tears no one ever noticed. Then I let those memories go. Grandpa had trusted me with this place because he'd seen something they refused to see. My heart, my strength, my ability to build something whole out of all their brokenness. And I would honor him, not with revenge, but with peace. I'd paint these walls in colors I choose. I'd fill these rooms with laughter I could believe in. I'd sleep under this roof knowing no one could ever push me out again. If they came back for me, I'd stand tall. If they tried to steal from me again, I'd fight. But I wouldn't let them shrink me anymore. This was my beginning, my chance to write the ending they'd never allow me to have. For the first time, I wanted to live, really live, without apology. I looked up at the sky, whispered a quiet thank you to Grandpa, and let a smile stretch across my face. This was mine. This was enough, and nothing, no family, no past, no poison, would ever strip it away.